You're listening to the Jan Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is director Geoffrey Levin. And we're going to be talking about his documentary entitled Brothers Broken. Welcome to the show, Geoffrey.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's a pleasure having you here. This, this is a beautiful documentary. And you were just telling me this is your very first film that you ever did. I want to get into that a little bit, but I just loved this documentary. I immediately texted a friend of mine and I said, "You've got to see this documentary. It's so good." So our audience knows what this Brothers Broken is all about. Can you give us a brief synopsis of Brothers Broken?
Um, it was as a director, I didn't plan to direct this, okay?
Okay.
I had a director who I'd worked with. And so he knew my story, and then he suggested we um, do something with it. And so I knew he could direct. I knew he could produce. So I said yes because I'd already done a little bit with my bringing my music group back together. So the story is really about my brother and I growing up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. We lived in San Jose. And then we were part of the folk movement in 1962, 63. And then the rock movement, which is like I knew and played with Jerry Garcia
Wow.
before the dead. And so we and then everyone made bands like Jefferson Airplane, Creedence Clearwater, Grateful Dead, Big Brother, Janis Joplin. We opened for Janis Joplin.
Amazing.
So, we were right there at the ground floor. So the story kind of starts there, growing up, and then we had a hit record, 1968, called "I Love You" on Capitol Records, and we joined Scientology right at that point.
Mhm.
And that's where things went downhill really rapidly. We didn't see it though, because we were. So the story is about what happened after that. Ultimately, I stayed in the cult and my brother left. And so 28 years we didn't talk. And that was on me, it wasn't on him. And because in that group, you can't connect or have any relationship with someone who has left. And if they speak out, it's even worse. And so my brother had done a newspaper article regarding that, and that was it. I had to sever my connection to him. So it follows, it's what's called Brothers Broken, but also our band broke up. It ruined our band. And they were, and to me, they were my brothers too.
Hmm. Hmm.
We'd been through a lot. So, and then this, I think the story, well, the story, I'm not going to give you the ending, but it's bittersweet in a way. But one thing happened, my kids both severed their connection to me when I left Scientology. So that it's all in the movie, and so I felt it was worth telling, and now even more with the rise of so many cults happening, not just in this country, but other countries. And then we're looking at, this is just my opinion, a national cult, with the political issues that are going on.
That would be a
So,
good way to put it. Yes. Many of us feel that way. Uh,
yeah,
Without
but
naming names, we know what you're talking about.
yeah, but so, and I have to say, I have a very diverse background because when I was in Scientology, I was very conservative. Um, I was an NRA member and all that stuff. hung out with a lot of very conservative people and embraced that point of view because it aligned with the doctrine and what I had learned within Scientology. And then when I got out, even then, um, I still maintained some of that point of view. But as I deprogrammed, I realized the similarity between certain politicians and L. Ron Hubbard, who is the founder of Scientology. And then I started to go, oh my God. At that point it was. So I think the film has a relevance in that respect of why do we um, join high control groups, and I think um, I did a lot of research on making this film and realized, no, there aren't a lot of actual films, because it's a full length documentary about this particular high control group. There were TV like A&E with Leah Remini and Mike Rinder, and Mike was gracious enough to be in the documentary. And that was very successful, and I give them kudos for what they had to deal with. And then a little sidebar is Leo watched an early version of the documentary, and she gave really good notes. So she helped me. And then another uh, writer, Paul Haggis, also gave me notes. He did Crash.
Oh, yeah. Was he involved too?
He just gave me notes.
Oh, he just gave me notes. He wasn't involved with Scientology.
Oh, yes, he
Oh,
was.
he was involved with Sci. I did not realize that he had been involved.
With devastating effect, I think,
Oh,
on him.
on him too. I have some friends who also are members, and they're also in the film community. Yeah, I think they're still members. So yeah, it's an interesting. It's fascinating to you because you got involved around 1968, somewhere in that vicinity. There seem to have been a lot of cults around that period of time, which I find fascinating. I had a very very dear friend of mine from Montreal who got involved in a cult, and how in his story about how he had to break out. This is in Canada, obviously. So yeah, there seem to be a lot of them. You go to Est, that's a little bit different, but there's a lot of different groups that sprouted up during that time period. So that's also fascinating. That'll be an interesting topic to cover as
Sure.
to why there were so many then. I don't know if there are as many now. Maybe there are, and we're just not as aware of them. But what was it that drew you? Because you were 18 years old, 19, you were
23,
how old?
23.
23. So what attracted you to sign, and your brother too? Who did you both decide to join at the same time, or did one of you decide and the other one joined? And what was the attraction to Scientology?
The attraction for me personally, and it's different, like I know a lot of reasons why, but for me, the attraction was I did not have, I wasn't really included in my family. I was an outsider, just the kind of personality, whatever. I was a uh, first child. My parents were from the Depression era in terms of they grew up with that, and it scared them a lot. So, but nobody told them about having kids. In
Mm.
those days, there wasn't Dr. Spock or whatever, any of these things. So I was like, when I was born, it's like, what is this thing? That's almost what it was like. And so there was no hugging, there was no physical contact. I had no physical contact, literally, when I was little. So and then I run across, I had my first mentors were musicians, and one of them, David Nelson, who used to be a friend, who played in New Riders of the Purple Sage, which was a 60s, 70s band, and very good friends with Jerry Garcia. And we played in a band together. He mentored me, and he mentioned Scientology at the time because he had dabbled in it. And this was 63, I think. By 68, though, I was really busy with my band and didn't, still didn't feel like I was getting much support from my parents or approval. I mean, they weren't bad. Like my wife says, beneficent alligators. They basically, let me do whatever I want. But
Uh-huh.
that has the downside when they never do any contact with me. So, dinner, family gatherings, all that stuff. But, so anyway, I joined because the belonging was amazing. They love bombed me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined, and then I was the leader of my group, the oldest person. And then my brother and two other band members joined as well. But they were all younger. So if I had nixed it or if I had said, no, this isn't good, that would have been it. No one would have joined. But it also promised instant wisdom. I mean, literally instant wisdom. And I was very attracted to that as a young adult because I didn't feel I had much.
Mm.
So, and that's very attractive because Hubbard was, and I worked directly with him. That's in the film too. But I worked with him. I got to see how he operated, and I interacted with him. And I felt what I came away with, he was an excellent researcher and an excellent plagiarist. In
Mm.
other words, he could find something that really made sense. The philosophy of Buddha, the Tao, all these points of wisdom that are really, I think, helpful. And then he would put his spin on it and rewrite it in a modern way. So it was like, okay, you can literally be wise in 3 weeks. And that's how I felt. And then I was part of the elite because they consider that they are the only ones, and I considered it too, that can really change this planet and bring about a new civilization, a positive new civilization. That's a high purpose, and that was a secondary reason I joined was I wanted to help. In that time period, so many of us boomers just saw we want to make a change.
Right, right. So it had to be an aphrodisiac for you to be included in that inner circle right from the beginning. And you worked, and it's in the film, and you've got such wonderful archival footage throughout the film. That's also, I want to find out about that because that had to be difficult to sort of surreptitiously get and put into this film, I would think. But, those are charismatic people. And I guess L. Ron Hubbard was very charismatic in order to,
Yeah.
create this group, this cult, and keep it going for so long. And yes, there's a lot of fascination around Scientology, certainly since people have, like Leah Remini has come out and spoken out against it, and others too. Um, it, it's surprising how many people do believe in all of that, but I think everybody's searching for something. So they find something and they, feel that this is the answer for them. And that's obviously what the answer was for you because you were in Scientology, for over 46 years. Is that correct? So
Yeah.
at what point did your brother wake up and decide to leave? And what prompted him to leave? And how many years in was he at that point in time?
Um, he um, he was in and out of it kind of. He was I don't think he felt that kind of needs that it supplied to me. He was more stable, I think, in terms of family connection and belonging. And actually, he had me as you could say a parental guide. I started actually when I was probably 6. I was in charge of my brother.
Oh, wow.
We were latchkey kids.
And how many years difference is there between the two of you?
3.5.
And I love
Uh,
the story in the beginning of the film when you try to give away your brother after he's born.
oh, well,
I
I
know.
did.
I know my older brother felt the same way about me when I
Oh,
was born, and I know he would, if he could have gotten rid of me, he would have. So,
is that-
and there's over 5 years
yeah,
between us.
okay. Um, that was pretty accurate. What I remember about that is not when I blanked out and had my fit about my brother, but I still remember seeing my mom coming home and Robbie wrapped in a blanket, a white blanket. It's a visual that stuck with me. None of the other parts of it stuck with me. In other words, I kind of went blank after that. And I know that that was the case, though, and so there was always a resentment, um, just maybe because I wasn't getting much attention anyway. And then he came home, and now it was pretty much non-existent.
Right.
So Robbie um, really was looking. He was motivated in a slightly different way than me, more of entrepreneurial, not so much a creator in the arts. And so he put together his own band and then fell into a business that became really successful for him. And at that point, he was doing really well financially. We'd had a slight breakup when I left the band, when that was 1969, and then we reconciled in 71. And so we were in touch. You know, I was happy to see him being so successful. And he was more um, focused on his business. So he wasn't paying attention much to how Scientology was developing, because it was developing radically in the 70s and the 80s. And then one of our close friends who we had recruited into Scientology left, and she was in the inner sanctum. She was high up executive. And when she left, she went to my brother. And so she gave him a lot of inside information that I didn't have. So by 1984, he was observing all these things happening, including going to their big place in Florida and realizing, hey, this isn't hot stuff. This is, not what they say it is. And so he was kind of quietly leaving under the radar. And then in 84, he made it really clear. He had put a party on to bring out new executives of Scientology. And he had a really big place and he was well known in Scientology. So he's hosted a party at his house, a lot of executives, a lot of celebrities. And he cornered the up and coming leader of Scientology. They went into another room and he asked them a few questions. And this is what did it for my brother. And David Miscavige, the now leader of Scientology, lied to him
Mm.
because he knew the answers from the inside, and that was it. And then he didn't say anything. And then a little bit later, he wanted me to come over and he said, I'm leaving. And at the time, I thought he was nuts.
But did he give you the information that he had to tell you why he was
I
leaving?
wouldn't. What I realized when you have that kind of cognitive dissonance and programming, it doesn't make any difference what you say.
You,
And you can see that now.
you,
You can see that. I see that every day with things where you look at something being done on the world stage or politically, and you go, you still support that
right, right.
because you can't talk to them.
No, no, no.
So you couldn't talk to me. I was had the idea that there's something wrong with him, and I didn't listen. I wouldn't listen. And you're actually trained not to listen. You're
Oh,
actually trained to reject and they have a name for it. I won't use it because it's just nomenclature, but it's a rejection of information, and you're trained to do that. So, so he left, and I had to sever my connection to him. It was demanded basically, because if I wanted to continue on my path, then I would have to reject him or they would kick me out. And I wasn't about to give that up.
So was that difficult for you to make well, the decision was made for you basically. You were told you had to do that, but even though that was what they said you needed to do, was that difficult for you, or were you able just to compartmentalize it and just go, that door's closed and move on and not think about it?
No, it was really difficult because we did have a relationship. We were, hanging out together. I respected him. I was not making the kind of money he was making. I was doing things I wanted to do. And he had helped me start a new recording business. I, he helped me with building a brand new recording studio. And I paid him back pretty quickly. Still, that's big help. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and he liked my music. He always followed what I was doing. So there was all that. And um, I think it was a loss for him. And definitely I was sad, except sad in Scientology is a bad emotion. You're
Oh,
not even supposed to, if they find out you have it, they say, you come in, we need to get rid of it. And their way of getting rid of it is like very superficial.
right.
And so, yeah, I had to deal with it. But it was more from the point of view of me as a victim, that he was doing everything wrong,
Right.
victimizing me.
Put the blame over on the other person
Yeah.
and deny
So
responsibility.
it still wasn't easy. And for me, when I deal with stressful issues that are emotional like that, I take it out on my body. So then I have some kind of physical ailment or something. And so I was really, they have a psychological term, but it was a roller coaster. It's like this. My whole time in that group, which is supposed to be like this, you're just going up
Mm-hmm.
like this. That's the way it was for me.
So
And go
go ahead.
ahead.
No, no,
No,
go. At what, so you were in this for 46 years, over 46 years. At what point did you finally wake up? I mean, what was it? What was your turning? I mean, I know we talked, it's in the film,
in the film, but well,
but
you,
because even though it's in the film, I'm sure there's a deeper story beyond what's just in the film.
well, yes, there is, and I could spend half an hour just talking about that one incident. Uh,
We don't have that much time though, Jeff.
no, in a few sentences, um, I had a manager. I thought he was helping me because your idea of trust, for me, it was attention. And he had credentials, allegedly, that he was a really good businessman. So he was consulting me on my business because I had a recording studio, I had a composing business, a music business of creating music for film and TV, and he was consulting me.
Was he
And
Scientology, this gentleman?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
No,
okay.
when you're in, it's rare that you work with people outside of that group.
Oh,
It's like there are other groups, other religions like that. I'm just not going to mention.
okay.
Um, but it's kind of that good old boys thing of you give the job to the people in your group, and that was my group. And then I was also trained in the management policies of Scientology, so I already knew some of that. But he was an expert. At least that's what I thought. So what happened is it turned out he was to some degree only there to get money out of me because when I was doing very well financially with royalties from all the music that I created for film and TV. And there was almost a six-figure check that came one quarter. At that point, he said, I know I've been helping you in just pro bono, but I probably should get a percentage of everything you make.
Mm.
It had nothing to do with that big royalty check
Uh-huh.
because that came from years of work. Anyway, so that was a betrayal because finally I woke up one day and realized he'd been scamming me. When
Yeah.
I tried to do a mediation, you can't go outside of Scientology to do a lawsuit. You can't do that. You could get permission maybe, but normally you have to do a mediate. We did a mediation within the group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's their mediator.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that he knew the higher up executives who were really controlling
And
it.
and everything's about money always, when you were giving money.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I don't mean to cut you short. Our time's getting short though, but
No, no,
what
anyway,
this
I'll just say there were three or four incidents where I just couldn't I couldn't deal with the fact that I was being scammed so heavily within that group, and it created a depression.
uh-huh. Understandable. Very
So at
understandable.
that point, I had nowhere to go, and it was either do or die. And rather than die, I somehow, I look at higher power, help me to get and wake up from all of that. It was
Go
so.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, well, it was devastating. 3 years of depression. That's in the
Right.
movie.
Right. That's in the movie. There's so much more to talk about. We'll have to do another interview, but what it's so when I cried, I did cry quite a bit, and when I was thinking is that anybody who has a fractured relationship with a family member or a friend, should reach out to them and make amends because all of us are getting older and we don't know how much time we have left on the planet and how sad it is to leave and not have that connection again with the people
Sure.
in our lives. It's just really important. This is a beautiful documentary. It really is. There's so much to it. I mean, it's, the perfect title, Brothers Broken, because, Scientology obviously was a huge part of all of this. And also with the forgiveness that takes place for you and your brother and other people too. And we didn't even talk about your career in music. The name of your group was People, and the hit song you had was I Love You, and I remember that song, and it plays a lot in there, and I go, yes, I remember that song. So there's so much to get into. But Jeff, I really wish you much success with the film. Where can people see Brothers Broken?
I sent you a
You,
link,
you did, but yeah, you just want to tell
but the
people.
places it's actually can be pre-ordered now on Amazon, Apple, Fandango, and I think even Google. Um,
Great.
so, and I encourage people to pre-order it because the first, the advance payment and the first day it comes out, any orders, the money that I make is going to Mike Rinder Aftermath Foundation. So, because I really support them because they help people leave the organization. They help, places to stay, deprogramming, because when you've been in that organization that long, sometimes you have nowhere to go.
Right, right. Well, we'll put that in the social media posting where people can get the film and where they can watch it and everything. It's a wonderful film. I highly recommend it. You'll be just drawn right in, and it's really well done, especially knowing that it's your first documentary that you've ever done. But I wish you much success with it, Jeff, and
Thank you.
all the best, truly.
And I'm happy to come back because the film part, that's what your podcast about.
We didn't get into that part. We'll have to do that for sure.
I do.
Great. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye bye.